Alright, so for a minion system, there are three things you want to achieve. The number one is capacity. You don't want players to have an infinite number of summoned minions at the same time. The second one is lifelink. You want the minions to self-destruct when the player dies or leaves the server, so they don't deal damage while the player is not there. And number three, you want them to deal damage as the player. That way, when the minion kills something, the player gets experience and money or other rewards from the kill. Capacity and lifelink are all taken care of by GOOP. That's actually what it does. The GOOP Minion System tracks how many minions a player has and destroys them when the player dies or leaves the server. As such, this video is actually about how to make mobs deal damage as the player, allowing you to correctly use this minion system. Alright, so this is one of your standard items, Summoner Staff. As you can see, it has this quantity summon weight, which is what interacts with the capacity system of GOOP. I also have the plugin MMO Core. With this I am a summoner class actually, so my minion capacity is all the way up to 4. So let me put my first turret here. Yeah, these are turrets. You see the minion doesn't move. It's stationary. Anyway, I can put a second one here and even a third. Again, my minion capacity is currently 4, so I can run out of mana. Let me get some mana real quick. Yeah, so here's the fourth one, and that's my minion capacity. If I put the fifth one, bam. You see, it deletes one that's already there. Because then again, my minion capacity is 4, so I can only have 4, each one having a summon weight of 1. You are free to have minions that do not have a summon weight of 1. It can be worth 2 or a half slot. It's whatever you choose. So, what is the summon capacity? As you can see, there's actually a MMO item stack for it. It's called Max Minions. Any piece of armor having max minions in it will allow me to have more turrets. Let me find one. I think the Toast had it. Toast doesn't have it. Violet Dew will do. It's here. Here, you see? Minion capacity +1. Here. This is the one. If I equip these wings, it will allow me to have an entire turret more. Yeah, I would usually recommend to put only like 0.5 in each armor piece, but anyway. So I equip the wings, and now I can have a 5th turret. Not a 6th though. My minion capacity is now 5. Finally, what happens if I just take the wings off? There. One of the turrets will explode because my minion capacity is back to 4. So basically, there is this minion capacity stat, and players can only have minions that add their summon weight up to it. Alright, so this is Frodo. Frodo is a summoner with some placeholder minions. Now watch what happens to the minions when he dies from any source. Right now, he is about to walk into the flames, and the minions will explode. There you go, they were all destroyed. Same thing will happen when he logs out. His minions will self-destruct and be gone from the server. There's one more mechanic to talk about related to Lifelink. That's the leash range. So here I have summoned one C-Pump Elemental. They are following me around, but that's MythicMob stuff. I will show you how to do that later. But the thing is, suppose my minions are distracted with an enemy. They are very busy killing it, right? So they will not follow me around anymore. If I walk away further than their leash range, they will be forcibly teleported to me every around 10 seconds. It's the same interval by which minions that exceed the capacity explode actually. So let me go further away. There you go. My minions have come to me again. The very first thing to do is the skill file. You have to make it in MMO items, dynamic, MythicMobs abilities folder. The name of the file is ability.yml. Alright, so in here you have the MythicMobs skill ID, the internal skill name. Next you have the display name. This is how it's displayed in the lore. And finally you have the modifiers. And finally you can specify some modifiers. You can have two items with this same ability but different values of modifiers. That's pretty cool. Going back to the MythicMobs ability, you can see I have it here in my YML skills in MythicMob folder. Here it is. This is the skill that will run when the player triggers the ability from their item. So let's look into it. It's a very standard format. The first thing you want to do is read all the modifiers: amount, weight, and damage. These are the modifiers: amount, weight, and damage. Yeah, so you will notice I read the value into a MythicMobs variable instead of keeping it as a placeholder modifier.amount. The second one does the same thing, but third one, I have a full math formula that I can use to scale the stat, and that's pretty nice. Let me show you. Here in armor, an armor piece with extra stat B. You see, misc B, that B in the end. This placeholder will read the value of the player's equipment, for example 100 plus 100 summons damage, which is what it does. Here in the math formula you can see it scales the damage modifier, allowing for equipment that increases your damage. And well, lastly, the actual summon mechanic. This is the thing that links a mythic mob to the GOOP Minions System. It has some arguments, like the leash range or the name of the mythic mob that you will be summoning. That's pretty important. This one, you see right here I have it as a mythic mob. Here it is. The mythic mob. Also the amount that are going to be summoned at the same time, and the summon weight of them, each of them. As you can see, they're just linked to the variables that are defined up there, just as you would expect. And well, this thing will be summoning them as the player. Like, the player is running this mechanic, so the player will be the master of the minions summon. So let's look at these modifiers right here. Damage 14, amount 1, summon, weight 1. Just as a demonstration of the magic of these modifiers, let me get another version of the sword with very different things. For example, instead of amount 1, let's give it a amount 3. And instead of weight 1, yeah, here it is, 0.2. So basically, I can now have 5 swords summoning 3 at the same time. Let's try that. There's 3 at the same time. I summon another 3, as expected. But what happens if I summon with the other sword that has a summon weight of 1? Boom. They all vanish, because that one alone is a whole unit of summon weight, which is 5 of the other ones. The comment GOOP Minion Generics leads you to the 2 skills that you really need in your minion. It will make this one deal damage as the player and not himself. The rest of the skills are just Terra Prisma looking cool with particles. We can leave all this stuff for later. Right now, the ones we want to look at are the MythicMob minion skills. In general, these are just a bunch of skills that allow the mythic mob to attack as the player instead of dealing damage as himself. It may or may not draw aggro. Anyway, let's just comment all this, because all this is unessential. Let's just comment it and GOOP reload it. It will only be calling the core skills that make the minion deal damage as the summoner, and the best way to show what this means is, let me summon one of them. As you can see, it has no particles nor anything anymore. It's just the raw invisible skeleton holding a sword. That's basically what it is. Let me find a monster. There. Attacks. If we go to my statistics, I have killed 315 skeletons. If I summon another skeleton, even though the sword is killing it and I didn't even touch it, I now have killed 316 skeletons. It is counting the kill to me as if I was the one hitting, which is the whole point of this. That's what this thing is all about. The minion itself deals only 1 damage, which allows the ability to take over. So let's take a look at it. My server is PvE, so I don't let minions hit players. This one I'll get to it later. This is the juicy one. There's a lot happening here. So let's take a look at how this skill is actually run. It's GOOP pseudo owner. It has cat equals true, and it is targeted at the trigger of the attack. This means that here in the skill, the player is the caster of the skill, the target is the enemy getting hit, and the trigger is the minion. See how it's reading the trigger's variable? The trigger is the minion. We are passing the pseudo with caster as trigger true, while the act trigger just makes the enemy skeleton the target of the skill. The skill being cast by the player, reading the damage value stored inside the minion. So now let's see how that damage value is stored inside the minion. It happens right here on spawn in the GOOP Minions startup. You see the damage value is initialized as 0, but then it does this GOOP pseudo owner damage calculation thing. It is again pseudoing the player and setting the trigger of the skill as the minion. As such, the player sets the value in the skill's target variable. The target is just the trigger of the skill. The value is stored inside the player as caster.damage. And what do you think that is? Right here in the MMO item summon skill, we set caster.damage as this is the math operation of the modifier damage scaling with summon damage. So that's where that value comes from in the player. So let's go through it in order. First, the player calculates the damage the sword minion will deal. Then he summons the actual minion. Then the minion runs its on spawn minion startup, which is all the way over here, which prompts the damage calculation, which makes the player set the value stored inside the minion to the result of the damage operation, in which the damage modifier was scaled by summon damage. Then the minion will go ahead and hit something, and the player then reads the value stored inside the minion and hits with that much damage. There's also this very nice gimmick right here. In GOOP hit skill, the rally at line. This causes the aggro to switch from me to the minion. When the minion starts attacking the Skeleton King will start attacking the minion instead of attacking me. If you don't want that behavior, you can always just come to your minion mechanic. Instead of using GOOP hit, use GOOP sneak hit. Sneak hit has everything except the rally at mechanic, which will make the minion do not call aggro from monsters. All the stuff is currently commented, so it's basically not there, which means this minion with the generic minion skills. Basically, it's ready to roll. Now this skeleton is very ready to go, but let's just make it look a little different for an example. So I'll just copy these armor pieces and paste them here, and then I'm just gonna make it not invisible anymore. Where's the invisibility? Here. And well, there. If some Wither Skeleton Knight in netherite armor, he will still fight for me. In fact, he will fight as me. Let's summon more. And that's all you need for a simple melee minion. So now let's go ahead and uncomment to all this. Honestly, I'm gonna tell you right now. The only thing you have to watch out for is that if the minion deals damage through a MythicMob skill, you must instead use GOOP pseudo owner with either of the hit skills. But well, so Terra Prisma. Let's start with the first one, the stance. This is just for particles. In fact, it pairs with this bottom line skill, Terra Prisma T, labeled cube particles. That's literally what it does. In fact, I should put it here, but nah, it's fine over here. So basically, that's literally just the particles, the ambient particles. You see, all these particle skills, they're just particle skills. They make like 3 or 4 particles of different color. Is ridiculous. But that's what you need for rainbow particles that look cute. The next one, the mount. The Terra Prisma sword floats. So naturally, you make it ride a Vex, an invisible Vex. And well, that's actually all there is to it. It's just an invisible Vex that it summons and mounts as soon as it spawns. That Vex has another skill related to it. It's gonna get complicated, but we'll get to it when we get to it. The next skill is just a slashing sound every time the sword deals damage because it's a sword and it should make a slashing sound. Pretty simple, pretty simple. Now let's get to the actual juicy ones, the complicated ones. Here they are, the four. Four. There's so many skills inside there. Anyway, this first juicy one, Terra Slashing. Let's find it right here. The first thing that it does is it's just particles. This thing right here is just one particle slash. The skill right here selects a random one. It's here. It selects a random one out of these 15 or so. It's just a particle slash for a random color of the rainbow. Pretty simple. Let's actually just label it like that, particles. That way it's easy to identify from then on. The other one is just GCD, we'll get to that later. And it also deals damage. This is the thing, deals damage from the minion. It's kind of a special attack, it's area of effect. And it uses GOOP Sneak Hit to not draw aggro from all the enemies. Speaking of which, this is all the stuff getting hit. It's the three nearest entities, ignoring animals, same faction and players, basically friendly stuff. And it's hitting them 3 times per second. 3 times per second, the nearest 3 enemies. That is OP, by the way. Yeah, that's pretty fast. Alright, so... okay, so Terraflate. It is targeting one entity, the furthest entity in 3 blocks. Only one. And does this about every 1 second. It's calling it every 20 ticks. So 20 ticks, note that it is less than the GCD applied every time the sword attacks, which means that every time the sword is attacking, is actively in combat, the Terraflea will not work. So the sword must be out of combat for this, and the furthest entity must be at least 5 blocks away. So it must be pretty far. Well, just decently far. So what does this do? It also must not be mounted, because this remounts the Vex. You see, the Vex it spawns with, that you would think it just keeps riding it, and I really tried, but for some reason it keeps attacking it and unmounting it. And anyway, I just made a skill that when the sword is not in combat, it just summons and mounts the Vex again. Alright, so the next one is just a projectile. The Vex sometimes decides to float away from the enemy a long time, and that feels a bit bad, so I just made it have a ranged attack. It just has a ranged attack, that's just it. Now the next one is Terra Drive. So, the Vex is just a ride, it's just so it floats nicely, but the sword has all the brains. This skill just tells the Vex who to target. As you can see, if the sword has a target, this skill will successfully run, this variable will be set, and the Vex will be rallied to attack the enemy. Here. And if the variable was not set, the skill will run, and the variable is not set when the sword does not have a target. And so this second skill, this one will cancel the third one. The third one makes the Vex chase the owner. So basically, if the sword has a target, the Vex will follow the target, and if the sword has no target, the Vex will follow the player. So let's summon something and see it in action. Okay, so that was a slash, you know, the particle slash that deals damage to the 3 nearest entities 3 times per second. But they gotta be within 3 blocks, so right now it's not doing it. As you can see now, the sword lost the Vex, and now it has recovered the Vex again. You can see, now that you know that it loses the Vex and then it recovers it, you can kind of notice when the sword is not riding it. So, okay, that was the range attack, the projectile. And it goes search, it attacks the Skeleton King. And there you go, now it doesn't have a Vex anymore. It's walking and it's fighting melee. When it's close enough, it does a lot of slashing. And that's Terra Prisma. So you've seen how the skills work together. I did not cover skill on destroy. But anyway, that's pretty simple. So all these skills, you can make them anything you want. You can customize them all however you want. And the cool thing is that you only have to account for the damage, point number 3, using this skill. Okay. So here we are in external examples. You will have to go to MMO items, then you make MythicMobs abilities Prismanizer. You cut that, and you go to MMO items, dynamic MythicMobs abilities, and paste that. So now let's go back to GOOP external examples, MythicMobs, the packs, the GOOP examples pack. We cut it. We go to MythicMobs pack and paste this. So that's basically all you have to do. Then you run your server. You gotta do it with the server closed because plugins, MMO items, dynamic. This only like loads every time you reboot the server. I could use this time to give you a tip. And here, since it's called Swait, you should probably want to go to language, to abilities, and here, if you search for Swait, here, you rename it to Summon Wait so that it displays like that, because yeah, that's just nicer. And if you want, you can come here to lower format, include it must be there. Whoops. Here. As you can see, I have it included here somewhere between the damages. You might want to put GOOP Minions B in here. Likewise, in stats, you define GOOP Minions B as whatever you want. I called it someone's damage. And that way, when you come here, a few things are ready. So, you can come to any armor piece and use the stat D as someone's damage. And you can, well, let's just use the same one. Give it an ability. And here, you will have to use the name of the dynamic file. This thing, Prismanizer. We'll copy that. Prismanizer. And then, I don't know, something like shift right click. And here, you will have all this stuff here. Well, someone wait. 2, we can make it pretty heavy. Or pretty light, 0.1. Amount 10 or something. And the thing is that they will show up like that. And these swords are gonna be ridiculously overpowered. These boots. So there you go. You can put that on. And shift and right click. There they are. So that's Prismanizer for you. Take care. So let's go through these very quickly. Very simply, I'm just gonna copy the generic minion thing, the generic minion part, and paste it at the very end. Let's just do some small edits. How are we gonna call them? Mo. Yeah, Mo. That's gonna be his name. From here, we just remove stuff like the invisibility, change the name. Other tweaks can we do? Let's find him some equipment. Just gonna use the same netherite armor. And I don't know, is that all the equipment we've got? Got some heads, yeah. Oh, these boots, these boots. Let's go. That's a good Mo. That's a good start. Now let's. I'm just gonna make this a zombie, yeah, and save the file. That should be enough. Yeah, it's ready. So I'm just gonna make a summon skill, gonna copy this one. Yeah, Mo summon. That's what it's gonna be called. Yeah, we have this stuff here. You see the damage variable is like that because, well, this is right here Mo, and the damage variable is like that, so that it still links to the minion starter skill. And then we can just edit these values a little, something like 2 at the same time, each worth half a summon slot. Anything works, anything works. Yeah. Um, Smaller release range, that'd be fine. So let's save that, and I think I'm actually gonna make two different ones, Mo and what are we gonna call the second one? Let's duplicate this. Mo and me. That's the one. Mo and me. Skeleton though. Me is gonna be a skeleton. And from here, just some slight changes to like tell him apart. The skills are fine. The skills are fine. What about? Oh yeah, rename him to me. Yeah, that's good enough. Let's just do the summon skill. Summon me. And save that. Yeah, that's good enough. So we're gonna be using these two monsters to test all the parameters of the summon minion mechanic. Alright, so me summon, that's gonna be the first one. And I'm gonna summon my pseudo myself. There you go, that's me. And let's check out Mo. Looking good, Mo. And they are reaching my minion capacity, so let me get some bonus. I don't need this stuff. I don't need this stuff. I just need these with plus 2 minion capacity. That means I should be able to have 6 at the same time. Let's find some these. But like, okay, just to make sure they are working because they don't seem to be like very alive. You just summon some enemy. Well, they're pretty much alive. Yep. Deal decent damage as well. So I should be able to get 6, and then they should start replacing each other. Alright, so that's working. Thus, let's write the variables in the complete form. I'm actually just gonna use the literal Java code thing. So this one is called leash range. This one is called amount. We already have that. Summon weight. Summon weight. Let's copy here that. Copy that there. I like that. I like that. So, as you can see, there's kind here. Kind. You see, if you don't specify a value for kind, it's going to be the same as the mob being summoned. Alright, so if you go up here to the one summoning Terra Prisma, you could write kind equals and the name of the mob, but that's just straight up redundant because that's the default value. So let's just remove that. So you would want to give them a kind that's not the same as their mob, but like we'll talk about later. Let's just try kind limit right now. Kind limit equals 3. Let's see that. Let's try that. 3 is fine. Save that and then reload. Yeah. Now if I try summoning Mo's, you will see that I can only have 3 at the same time because the limit of Mo's is set to 3. Their kind is Mo. I can only have 3 Mo's, but I can still have an however many Mi's as long as they don't exceed my minion capacity. And if I summon more Mo's, I can only have 3 Mo's, that's just it. Now, what happens if we also cap the Mi's, but also give them a common kind of move, such that both of them are moved, but still capped at 3. Let's test that. So now, killing all of them so that their kinds are refreshed. So I have 2 of these, and I have 2 of these other ones. But you see, they are not exceeding my minion capacity, they are just exceeding their kind limit. Me and Mo are both Mo, so I can only have 3 moves at the same time. But check out what happens when the limit is increased. And let's increase the me limit to 5. So now Mo, okay, so yeah, Mo has a kind limit of 3, and me has a kind limit of 5, but they are both Mo kind. Whatever. Thing is, I still am capped at 3 Mo's. However, I can have 5 me's. How does it work? If I try to summon another Mo's. Okay, so if you see there's the Mo's are still capped at 3, but the me's are capped at 5. So the me in total there's 5 moves in here. I mean, I think you're seeing what I'm seeing, and I think you're getting what I'm getting. There's the me's are capped at 5 moves, the mo's are capped at 3. So just that's what kind limit does, and that's what kind do. The next one is cap break, which is true by default. So this stuff is basically saying cap break, cap break goes through. Let me copy that, paste it here. And I think I'm just gonna remove all the kinds limit stuff. We don't need that here. Cap break is exclusively for the max minion capacity stuff. And let's just make it false for me. So me it's not doing anything, the skill, because cap break means that they won't be summoned if they would break the cap. How do you say it? Okay, because it's false, they are not getting summoned because they would break the cap. By default, the value is true, which means that they will summon and break the cap. Okay, if we set it true, and then reload, the skill now again summons me's, which break my minion capacity and thus destroy the older me's. But if you have cap break in false, it won't allow me to break the minion capacity, and the new ones will just not be summoned. That's what cap break does. And lastly, skill, which is pretty useful. Okay, so skill. Let's call it just a explosion. It's an explosion skill. All right. Now let me go get some particle effects and also remove at self. Remove at self is very important, and we'll look at that in a minute. So let me get these particle effects. I'll just copy and paste them. There you go. Particle effects. So this skill will run every time the minion would die because GOOP is destroying it. This is when they break the max capacity, when the owner dies, or when the owner leaves the server. That's basically when. So you see, the ones that are breaking the max capacity and are being destroyed by GOOP will run this mythic skill instead and be destroyed by this mythic skill. You see that? And if I die, suicide, kill. There. You see, they died because due to this mythic skill, they are running this particle effects, and that's what the skill do. Now, what happens if you remove the remove itself? This is very weird, but basically, let me suicide. You see, they did run the particles, but they did not get removed. You see, they're there, and they will continue attacking skeletons. See, there's a skeleton. Right now, I have 342 kills. Summon a skeleton. There, they've killed it, and now I have still 342 kills. And if I summon more and break my minion capacity, they will run the particle effects. But let me use the leash range to see which ones are my minions. Only these 4. The other ones are completely independent skeletons. They they do not kill for me. They do not kill as me anymore. These four though they will. Right now I'm at 342, 343. I'm already at 343, and well now I'm at 344. But yeah, because these four are my minions, and these other ones they're just there because they didn't get removed by the skill. If so you wish. Usually you will have that in there because that works great. Alright then, take care.